Today on Country Fried Cryptid.
Go ahead, Carly.
Things that go bump in the South.
We return to the city of Augusta, Georgia with our hosts, Carly and Ben.
This is a very low city. Like, it's very spread out. There's lots of domes. See? Dome. Dome.
God.
Let me see that dome.
Ryder.
To St. Paul's Episcopal Church, the oldest church in Augusta. The churchyard gates house an old cemetery dating back to the 1700s, and in the far corner of that cemetery sits a mysterious pyramid covered in vines. Legend states that under this pyramid lies an important Augusta native.
Supposedly, there's an Indian chief that is buried there, and at night, people have said they have seen him on his horse riding around the street.
And he's supposed to be buried underneath the Masonic
Yeah,
pyramid.
The chief was supposedly buried sitting astride his horse in the depths below the pyramid.
Do we know who lies beneath it? Or is there no way of knowing at this point?
I would say at this point, outside of legend, you would have to dig that documentation.
Before we attempted to summon the Reynolds Street Rider, we decided to look into the church's burial records. We traveled to St. Paul's Episcopal Church, where we met Susan Yarborough, chair of St. Paul's History Committee.
And so it starts with the record of marriages. But they've also kept statistics about things like these are the confirmations that took place every year.
Including a record of Joseph Ashton, a tavern owner, firemaster, mason, and planter in North Augusta who died in 1809 and was buried under a Masonic pyramid in the southern corner of the churchyard. Could this same tavern owner be the ghost who springs from the grave and rides down Reynolds Street? And if so, how did his grave come to such disrepair? And why does nobody remember him? To answer these questions, we invited ordained spiritual counselor and certified psychic medium Heather Posey Ware to contact Joseph on the other side. Heather joined on this journey with no knowledge of the legend of the Cherokee Chief or our research thus far.
He's coming in with a gray suit. I do see like a chain, like maybe it would be a pocket watch. This guy feels pretty old also. He is shorter than the last guy, maybe not even too much taller than me. And he feels a bit more heavy set. He takes a bow and he says, I have an apology to make. Do you see where I am buried? There's a reason it looks like a trash pile, because I was not a very good man. I thought to have success, you had to be born into a certain stature, and anyone who wasn't as good as I was didn't deserve that. I thought it was all a game, and I always got to be the king. I did not see people as equal. I did not see that every soul is an equal light in the universe. But I see it now, and I am making up for my actions. I was wrong about what God actually wanted for people, equality. I did not believe that all people were equal. That was my biggest mistake. If I could have owned that one truth, I would have done things differently. He is owning his mistake while he is in the light. He is owning his mistake and making retributions on the other side. There's not a lot in the physical world he can do, but on the other side he has made retribution, and he has understood the consequences of his actions have lasted generations. He says y'all are still struggling. He uses the word y'all. Y'all are still struggling with that down there, and I'm here to say that I'll try to help in any way I can if I can just change one person's mind. That when I came here, after a life of misdeeds, I had to deal with that, and I had to face those consequences and make amends. And this is what I'm trying to do now with my opportunity to speak. He did not have a hat on, but he sort of makes one and bows like this, saying, please accept my apology. Puts his hand over his heart and the other one down by his side, just like this. He actually wants to follow us, so I'm going to let him tag along if that's okay.
Yeah.
First company I've had in years.
Joseph did accompany us on the rest of our tour of the cemetery, but he, thankfully, did not follow us home.
I thought that the pyramid was going to be bigger for some reason. I thought it was going to be like a giant, I guess I'm thinking of like Mayan pyramids, but it wasn't that impressive. It's true that talking even about the chief being buried on top of his horse was just preposterous when it was brought up.
A difficult bury, to say the least.
But I don't rule anything out. I mean, it's so interesting hearing people talk about these things that happened 100 years ago, and it's so relevant now. Social issues, diseases. I mean, yes, we have incredible technology now, and we're 100 years more advanced, but then you hear stories and you're like, that could have happened 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or today. So how can we use like whatever the spirits are telling us or whatever we've learned to make the future better and not have to repeat the same damn stuff over and over again? So is the haunting really by a ghost or by our actions?
The shadow of racism stretching across time.
Yeah, I think that's right.